Welcome to the second Make It Better summer session. I'm Max.
And I'm Irene.
And we both just graduated from high school this year. We're holding these sessions because lesbian, gay, bisexual, and transgender youth shouldn't have to suffer bullying in school. Together, we can make it better. And these workshops, along with the Make It Better Summer Facebook group, which you should totally check out, will give you the tips and tools you need.
Last week was orientation. We talked about how to deal with different kinds of bullying and different situations, and also the basics of what gender is. You can still watch last week's workshop just by going to the Make It Better summer page at makeitbetterproject.org.
The great part about watching these sessions live, though, is that you can participate. Use the chat box next to the broadcast, or use the hashtag #MIBSummer on Twitter to ask us questions or to answer the questions we ask you.
This workshop will focus on what specific actions you can take in your school to make it better. One of the best ways to make a difference in your school is to start a club for the lesbian, gay, bisexual, and transgender youth in your school to feel safe, like a GSA or a Gay Straight Alliance Club. Even if some students are scared to join, this will let them know that they're not the only ones dealing with these issues and that there are people in the school who accept them.
Today, we'll go through the details of how you start up and run a GSA club, gain support in your school, and carry out specific actions to make it better.
We're going to talk about a lot here, so if you have questions, please type them into the chat. At the end of each section, we'll take a break to go through your questions and answer them. We'll also have lots of materials available for you later. We'll start out by going over some basic first steps in forming a club, and then we'll play out a few scenarios to show you why they're important.
So, before you even get started on forming your club, you need to make sure you follow the guidelines at your school. Establish a GSA the same way you would establish any other group or club. The best place to look to find this information would be in the student handbook or planner. This may include getting permission from an administrator, finding an advisor, and or writing a constitution and mission statement. Now, every GSA has a mission statement. A mission statement helps keep the club on a designated path, and it also informs potential members what the club is. It's also important that your members know what the club's goal is. But before you can write your mission statement, you need to identify what type of club you have. There are 3 general kinds of GSA clubs. 3. Activist, support, and social. Your GSA can really be any combination of these 3 types of clubs. For example, my GSA was an activist and social GSA. We led campaigns throughout the school year and had potlucks at every meeting. Once you have identified the type of club you have, you can write your mission statement. A shortened example of a mission statement for an activist club could be, this GSA is dedicated to making Example High School a safer place for LGBT youth. And a support group's mission statement might read, this GSA is dedicated to creating a safe space for LGBT youth. Now, the first mission statement exemplifies an activist GSA because it is trying to change the climate of the whole school, whereas the second mission statement only drives to create a safe space for LGBT youth and their allies to go to. Feel free to write a mission statement for your GSA and post it on the Facebook group for us and your peers to look over and edit.
Next, find a teacher or staff member who you think would be supportive, committed, and excited to work with your club as a faculty advisor. It could be a teacher, counselor, nurse, or librarian, but make sure to check exactly who counts as an advisor at your school.
You'll need to inform your administration of your plans. Tell administrators what you are doing right away. It can be very helpful to have an administrator on your side. They can work as liaisons on your behalf with other teachers, parent groups, community members, and the school board. If an administrator is resistant to the GSA, let them know that forming a GSA club is protected under the Federal Equal Access Act.
And if you run into a hostile administration, be sure to stay calm and know exactly what you're allowed to do in terms of the school policies. Again, remember that if your school allows other extracurricular clubs, like drama clubs, Christian clubs, community service clubs, to exist, they are required to let your GSA exist and give you the same privileges that the other clubs have. Whatever you do, try not to lose your temper, because that probably won't help your case. Talk calmly and list the reasons that a GSA should exist at your school. Cite your mission statement if you have one ready. If none of these strategies work, you can always look for help from outside groups with your specific situation. The ACLU, or American Civil Liberties Union, is a particularly good group to go to if your administration is illegally stopping you from starting a club. They'll be hosting a workshop in 2 weeks with more details on that. You can also always reach out to GSA Network or your local GSA network in your state. So here we'll stop for a moment in case anyone has any questions. Remember, you can type your questions into the chat at any time and we'll answer them when we get to the end of a section.
Could you just do a brief recap of what we're talking about today? Some people just arrived.
Okay, well today we're going to be talking about how to have a successful GSA club at your school and also how to start a GSA club at your school. We just went over some of the ways to start a GSA club, so if you have any questions on that, feel free to ask us.
No, wait.
Continue.
No meeting can be held if you don't have a place to meet, so you'll need to seek out a teacher or staff member at your schools that is willing to lend you their room. Try to find a meeting place which offers balance between accessibility and privacy, so that people won't be afraid of everyone else seeing them go in, but so that it's easy to find.
And then advertise. If people don't know about your meeting, they can't come to it. Depending on your school, the best way to get the word out is, or could be, the PA system, emails, flyers, or Facebook, or all of the above. If your flyers get messed up or torn down, don't give up. Keep putting them back up. Eventually, whoever is tearing them down will get tired and stop. You can also laminate them or put note cards under your flyers saying things like, "Don't hate." Just the fact that phrases like lesbian, gay, bisexual, transgender, and homophobia actually make other students feel safer, even if they never attend a single GSA meeting. Also, tell guidance counselors and social workers about the group, because they might know students who would be interested.
Get food. This one is kind of obvious. People always come to meetings when you provide food. You can even assign people to bring necessary can be used too. Or you can hope that people will come out of the goodness of
When you actually have your meeting, you'll probably want to start out with a discussion about why people think having this group is important. You can also brainstorm things your club would like to do this year.
Now, I know y'all hate rules, but these little things called ground rules are important for creating a safe space in the club. Many groups have ground rules in order to ensure that group discussions are safe, confidential, and respectful. A common ground rule that a lot of clubs have is that no assumptions or labels are used about a group member's sexual orientation. This can help make straight allies feel comfortable about attending the club.
And last but not least, plan for the future. Develop an action plan. brainstorm activities, and set goals for what you want to work towards. Contact Gay Straight Alliance Network or the specific GSA network in your state, if you have one, in order to get connected to all the other GSAs in your area, get supported, and learn about what else is going on in your community.
So those are the basic first steps for starting a GSA club and keeping it going. You can read over these tips at the link we're posting in the chat right now, and later we'll make it available on the Facebook group. Now, before we move on to some scenarios, do you have any questions about these tips? No questions?
No questions.
Okay, so next we'll demonstrate some different scenarios of challenging issues that might come up when trying to facilitate a GSA meeting. So let's say Max and I are members of the club and you, yes, you in the chat, are the GSA president. What are some things that you would do in that very first meeting?
One person says we played icebreaker games at our first meeting so people could get to know each other. Because the president is the one talking right now.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, that's a really good idea, and I recommend doing icebreakers at all meetings, not just the first one. One example of an icebreaker that we like to do is a name game. Do you want to explain the name game?
Yeah. So actually, you might be better at explaining it.
Okay. So, for example, let's imagine we have a lot more people here, and we're all sitting in a circle.
Yeah.
And so I'll start, and basically I say my name, and before it I put an adjective that starts with the same letter. So since my name is Irene, I would say, I'm interesting Irene. And then Max would go,
I'm Marvelous Max and Interesting Irene. I think that's how it goes.
Yeah. So Max would say his name and his adjective, and then say the names and adjectives of everyone that came before him.
Yep.
And then you keep on going around the circle.
We've got another answer here, which is energizers, something to get the energy flowing.
Yeah. Okay. Exactly. That's a really good idea. And we're going to do an example? Should we do an example now?
You should do an example now, yeah.
Okay, so we have an example of a great energizer that we always use here at GSA Network, and it's called Fruit Sloop. And we're just going to go ahead and do it. And as you sit, oh, I spilled my water. Nothing spilled though. We're good. As we're doing it, feel free to either get up and wherever you are, show your friends or family, or just do it in your chair. It's kind of fun. So we're gonna go ahead and just do it. Okay?
Okay. Ready?
Form an orange. Form an orange. Form an orange. Form an orange. Peel an orange. Peel an orange. Peel an orange. Peel an orange. Squeeze an orange. Squeeze an orange. Squeeze an orange. Squeeze an orange. Form potato. Form potato. Form potato. Form potato. Peel potato. Peel potato. Peel potato. Peel potato. Mash potato, mash, mashed potato, mash, potato, mash, mashed potato, form, banana, form, banana, form, banana, form, banana, peel, banana, peel, banana, peel, banana, peel, banana, go bananas, go bananas, go bananas, go bananas. Woo! Yeah.
So that's the end.
That's the fruit salute. It's kind of fun, gets the blood flowing. Yeah. We were practicing it earlier. It's a good one. Any more suggestions? Or questions on the fruit salute?
Also, overviews of the main goals of GSA, like anti-bullying and education.
Yeah, that's a really good idea. Yeah, and you could also start thinking of ideas of what to work on in the next year based on what your themes are for the GSA. So if it's anti-bullying, you could work on stopping bullying at your school, and we'll go into that more later.
You can also go into creating a mission statement for your club. It's a good idea to hit the ground running if it's your first GSA meeting by creating a mission statement that everyone in your club agrees on so you have a focus. Okay, we're going to go on to the next thing. We want to touch on an issue now that came up last week. How to work with other groups, like religious groups in your school. We'll act out this skit, and you can tell us what you think the GSA president does well. And I'm not the GSA president.
I'm the GSA president, and Max is a GSA member.
Correct.
Okay. So Max, what do you think about the meeting we had last week about the fundraiser with the Bible Club?
I don't think we should do the fundraiser with the Bible Club because the people in the Bible Club, they don't like us gay people. They don't think we can marry. They say that we go against like God and stuff and that we're gonna like burn in hell.
Well, I guess that's true, but not everyone in the Bible Club and not every Christian thinks that way.
Well, I would feel really uncomfortable working with another group that doesn't necessarily believe in what I believe.
Yeah, I understand what you're saying, but if we collaborate, then maybe we can show them that our way of thinking actually makes some sense. And yeah, we can show them that collaboration is good. We can still make a difference.
They've never wanted to collaborate with us before.
Well, there's always a first time. We should take the first step and we should ask them to collaborate with us.
So, what did the president do well? What? Why are you giving me that look?
Being inclusive.
Yep. Yeah. Should always remember to be inclusive of other clubs as well as talking to the GSA members. And if you're president, you shouldn't be just making all the decisions yourself.
Mm-hmm. And we have someone adding to that. That you're good at being inclusive, but maybe you could explain your ideas more in doing that. Yep.
Do you have other questions or comments or how you could work with other groups at your school?
Shay comments that they're in a religious club too, in addition to the GSA, and kids these days are more accepting, so youth are more accepting.
That's good to hear. All right, we'll move on to the next scenario. So the next one is about GSA advisors. An ideal GSA advisor should be supportive, committed, and excited to work with your club. If these words don't describe your advisor, then you have a problem, but it can be fixed. Advisors are people too, so don't be afraid to talk to them and fix this situation. Watch this scenario with Jill behind the camera as our domineering advisor. Okay, everyone, welcome to the third meeting of the year. We're going to talk about ways that we can...
Did you forget? I have an agenda ready.
Oh, I actually prepared an agenda.
And I think that we should go with what Irene wants to do.
But we really only have a limited period of time, so maybe we should really just get to some of the items that we have written down. Like that fundraiser is pretty important.
Well, what do you think is an important thing to do right now?
I think that we should decide on what type of fundraiser we're doing.
I thought we had that decided. We're doing a car wash.
Oh.
Have all of the members in the club voted on having a car wash?
No.
We should probably hold a vote.
Yeah, let's hold a vote. Okay.
Yeah.
The end.
So, what are some things that the GSA president and GSA members did well to combat the domineering advisor? And what are some things that they could have done better? Or improved on? Nothing?
We have one comment that you feel like they did well in pushing that the group is about what the students want and that the advisor should only be there to support them. Right.
Exactly.
So what are some strategies in general in talking to, in dealing with an advisor? Like what were you doing? What do you think you were doing?
Well, first of all, we stayed respectful, but we also didn't back down as to what we wanted, and that was having the group be student focused.
Okay. Finally, we're going to leave you with some ideas for activities that you can do in your school and some strategies for planning those activities. The Make It Better website has a calendar up that you can contribute to. We'll post the link now. So if you decide to do one of these actions or come up with your own, you can post it on the calendar for youth activists all across the country to see.
Let's talk quickly about planning some sort of action in your school to make it better. There are two kinds of activism. One that works, activism that works, and activism that doesn't work. So, what do you think are some characteristics of activism that works?
It only attempts to educate persons, not force a belief upon them.
Yeah, that's a really good point. Yeah, perfectly said.
What are the rest, do you think?
Other than educating people, you should also try to aim for making concrete improvement in people's lives. So something that you can actually point to and say, I made that change. For example, if you do a campaign and then 60% of the students at your school said they felt safer afterwards, that's a concrete improvement right there.
And we have one more addition here that I think is good. Optimism, persistency, and killing them with kindness.
Aww. Yes, of course. Okay, so now we've talked about activism that does work, but what are some examples of activism that really doesn't work? As they say in infomercials, do not try these at home.
Being pushy.
Mm-hmm. You don't want to force anything upon people, that's for sure.
I feel like there's a point where persistence just becomes annoying, so crossing that line would be bad.
Okay.
Yeah, I'd say if your club is trying one strategy, like if you're trying a poster campaign to achieve a certain goal and you see that it's not working and you keep on trying it over and over, that's when you should change your strategy.
Right.
Yeah.
And maybe you don't really have a clear goal with the type of activism that you're doing. So you really need to have a clear goal in order for activism to be successful. And any activism that already reinforces who does and doesn't have power isn't a good idea either.
Okay, so what kinds of things do we advocate to change? When do we use activism?
We have one answer that people being afraid of the unfamiliar is something that you should try to change, because activism can change that quite easily.
Yeah, I'd also say when something isn't right in your school or in society, when you see that something isn't fair, you should work to change it. Yeah. So these problems and injustices that we were just talking about are what we call issues.
So an issue is a problem that you want to solve. The solution to that issue is the goal of your campaign. What's an example of an issue in your school that you might want to solve?
We have slurs as one thing listed.
Slurs is a really good one because that's something that's narrow and you can target that really easily, like through a poster campaign or an awareness campaign of some sort. So.
Okay, now that we have that issue, what would be your goal? And what would be some possible campaign ideas to achieve that goal?
Sort of touched on.
Other than a poster campaign.
Actually, we have a little bit of discussion going on here where someone's saying that an issue that they face is limitations on advertising and not being able to advertise for charities. Would you think of that as an issue in the sense of a campaign?
I think so. Is it at their school?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Is it a type of injustice that
I think
that
so.
you're trying to solve? Yeah.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Yeah. And teachers, discrimination by teachers as well.
Yeah.
Definitely.
That's something that you might want to take up with your administration, or see what type of laws there are in your state to protect you from that. Okay. So once you've chosen an issue and a campaign goal, there are a few other things to consider in planning the campaign. First, who are the players in this campaign and what people will you have to consider? So, you'll need to figure out who the decision maker is, the person who has the power to solve your issue and make the final decision about whether or not you reach your campaign goal. Let's say the issue you want to tackle is the dress code, which discriminates against gender non-conforming students. For example, girls are required to wear skirts, whether or not they express their gender that way. Your campaign goal is to change the dress code policy. So you do some research and determine that your principal is the one who sets that policy and has the power to change it. In this case, the principal is the decision maker.
Also think about your allies, opposition, and influencers. For allies, who should you reach out to because they might support your cause? And then opposition, who should you keep an eye on because they might try to stop you? And for influencers, who do you know that has power over the decision maker? For example, do you know a teacher who's really close to the principal? You could make that teacher an ally and get them to influence the principal.
Now, that's a lot to take in, so let me give you an example of a campaign I did that worked. We wanted to focus our energy on one topic and decided that the biggest issue that affected LGBT students at our school were anti-gay slurs and harassment. Our goal was to solve that problem and reduce the number of slurs against LGBT youth on campus and in the community. Another group called the Peer Education Team shared this goal, so we decided to team up with them for a campaign. They were some of our allies in the campaign. The best way to tackle this problem was to educate the students and teachers at the school of their effect on youth. In order to do this effectively, we decided to take a 4-phase process. This campaign was going to be large. It included several rounds of flyering the campus, a teacher training, student trainings, and then the final poster campaign. I and the cabinet members of my GSA did some research and found out that the principal was the one that we needed to talk to about distributing flyers, posters, and facilitating trainings for the teachers and students. We then went to the principal and pitched our entire plan. He had to approve our flyers and secure a time slot in a staff meeting for us to give the trainings. The peer education team helped us in planning and facilitating workshops for the teachers and students, with the curriculum then being approved by the principal. We contacted a graphic design firm to see if they would donate their time to design and print posters for our school that would go up in every classroom. These would raise awareness about harassment and anti-gay slurs and their effect on youth. For us, identifying a specific issue on campus and a way to solve it and then utilizing our allies, the peer education team, and luckily the principal as well, allowed us to generate an effective campaign that made the climate safer for LGBT youth and allies at our school.
That's awesome. But you don't only need to focus on the big issue campaigns. There's also lots of small things that you can do to make it better in your school, even if it's just one event or action and not a whole big campaign. My best example of something that I did with my GSA club but which affected the whole school wasn't a campaign at all. Small events can also change your school. I'll talk about Harvey Milk Day since I already mentioned the classroom workshops last week in my personal story. In my junior year, I organized a school-wide celebration of Harvey Milk Day, which is on May 22nd, which had just been approved as a California state holiday as a way to educate people about an amazing leader who had worked to end discrimination against the LGBT community in the 70s and set the stage for many of the civil rights advances we see today. Clubs and student unions to join us in celebrating a Forgotten History Week, which highlighted the less well-known pioneers of civil rights. I and other members of the GSA stood outside at lunch and read parts of Harvey Milk's Hope speech, which talked about the importance of accepting oneself and others for what's inside. We also focused on starting discussions of Harvey Milk in classes that week. Now, the event wasn't perfect. Most of the other clubs I contacted actually didn't even commit to participating, and the few who did for that week didn't really do any sort of activity on the day they were supposed to. And during the speech in the quad, a lot of people were just eating lunch, although some were listening. It was hard, but a few people, including the principal, did tell us how much they liked the message, and we also learned how to improve our event for next year. So don't get discouraged.
Other things you can do with your club at school could be events like GLSEN's Day of Silence. The Day of Silence is a day where youth all around the country remain silent for a whole day to symbolize the silence of LGBT youth when it comes to bullying and harassment. You don't speak in class or anywhere, and you can download note cards from GLSEN's website explaining why you are silent. It's sort of like a silent protest. My GSA set up a station where students could get duct tape and a sticker to help promote the cause that the Day of Silence symbolizes. This creates awareness in the student body, and sometimes these smaller things can make the biggest difference. There are also some more simple activities that you can do just within your GSA club, for example, that will make it better.
In my GSA, it's traditional to start the first full meeting of the year with something we call the Jelly Bean Game. To lead this game, break everyone into small groups and give each person or each group a bag of jelly beans, or any candy that has the same size and shape but different colors. Then tell each group to divide up their bag into 2 categories, using any criteria they can think of. If your meeting is held during lunchtime, you're probably going to want to limit the dividing up time to 5 minutes if you can, so that you have time to debrief and get to the rest of the points on your meeting agenda. After each small group is done dividing the jelly beans, everyone can come together again and discuss questions like, how did you divide up the bag? And can some objects fit into both categories, or did some not fit into either group? And how is this similar to how we divide up people in our world? You can relate it to gender, race, sexual orientation, religion, or social groups that you might see in your school, like nerds, jocks, popular. And then finally, after everyone's done discussing, you can eat all the jelly beans. That's the funnest part.
So those are just a few ideas of activities you can do in your school to make it better. We're building up an epic list of activity ideas to send out to all of you at the end of the summer, so watch out for that as the school year starts. Also, as we mentioned, there's an online interactive calendar on the Make It Better website. Add any events that you'll be hosting in your town to make it better and inspire youth across the country. Thanks for tuning in today. Next week, we'll focus on community activism and how you can make it better by telling your story as an LGBT youth or ally.
Now, we'll be sticking around for a few more minutes, so we're happy to answer any questions that you might have.
We have a few. One that came up earlier was someone was trying to actually show their Make It Better video, and they did succeed in showing it at their school, but they were wondering how they could bring it to other school districts that are nearby, and what they should do to start that process.
Well, if you made a Make It Better video, and you want to show it to other people like in your area that are in different districts or different schools, the best way to do it is to upload it online. Say you have a friend at a high school a few towns away, you can send them the video via email or Facebook and say, hey, show this to your GSA club. Or what you can do is you can contact the local GSA network in your region, or maybe even GSA network, and we can put it on our website, or they can put it on their website to help distribute it throughout your region.
Right. We have another question here from Alyssa. I attempted to bring awareness to Spirit Day at my school and was told by my administration that it might be offensive to some people and that I couldn't make flyers or a presentation or anything on campus.
That's not right. Yeah.
Sort of against the law, right?
Yeah, definitely in California. I'm not sure about other states, but probably. Yeah. You said that you were trying to bring it up on Spirit Day, and technically I think you should be allowed to, but I don't know if that would have been the right time to. Maybe, I don't know, if there was like a diversity week or something.
Yeah. For focusing on LGBT topics, if you want to choose a day, a really good day is like National Coming Out Day, or if you're in California, using a day like Harvey Milk Day. So something that's already sort of reserved for LGBT youth, or like what Irene said, like if your school has a diversity week. So.
Yeah, it's just on Spirit Days, people are probably just wanting to party and
yeah, sort
not
of
wanting to think about serious things.
Yeah, Spirit Week is, I mean, not to say that like LGBT activism should be reserved for only a few days in the year. By all means, do it every day for as much as you can, but
yeah.
And that might be another situation where you should be possibly looking at the rules at your school and and local organizations too that you could reach out to.
Definitely.
To make sure. And Alyssa adds that it wasn't really about LGBT issues. It was focused on people pushed to suicide due to bullying, or that's how they presented it to the administration. And even that.
What you could have done is, if the administration just didn't want you doing it during Spirit Week, is you could have asked if you could have dedicated another week to bullying and its effect on youth and whatnot. So, and a really good idea is to show hard statistics to administration, like 9 out of 10 LGBT youth report being harassed in school, 4 out of 10 attempt suicide after hearing those remarks. So, just like layering statistics also really help. And check out the laws in your state regarding this type of stuff. Any more questions?
There are just some comments here that a lot of schools are simply afraid to talk about suicide, and they think it won't occur if no one talks about it, which is definitely something that you might encounter. And suicide is a really sensitive issue in terms of talking about it in a way that is safe and responsible, and make sure that you're not actually contributing to people's harmful thoughts. So that's the type of thing where you really should reach out to resources like the Trevor Project, which has a lot of great stuff on how you can approach those sorts of issues with your school and with your student body in ways that will really change the environment for good.
Yeah, that's a really good point. And like Jill said, the Trevor Project is a really good resource. TrevorProject.org.
They'll come to your school too if you ask them, and they'll give presentations. And I'm sure you have other organizations in your area that do the same thing. There are many here in San Francisco, including us.
There's a comment that, to touch on Alyssa's point, peer counseling was acceptable for putting up posters, but GSAs were not in a certain situation. So, yeah, in that case, it's a little bit different if peer counseling is acceptable, but you're not allowed to have GSAs, because that's a very clear form of discrimination.
Yeah.
Yep, that goes against the Federal Equal Access Act. There, your school would then be going against a federal law.
It's totally illegal.
Very illegal. And you can definitely go to your principal and say, what you're doing is illegal. And you can, I don't think you can sue your school, but you can definitely
maybe if they don't fix it.
Yeah, you can get your school in serious trouble.
Okay, I think that might be it for the questions.
Okay.
So we want to sign off.
Sure. Hope you enjoyed the show and broadcast today. And be sure to go on the Facebook group if you have any more follow-up questions. Irene and I will be there, Jill will be there, and so will a bunch of other youth.
And don't forget to tune in next week at 4 p.m. Pacific time and 7 p.m. Eastern time.
And 2 a.m. UK time.